on our conversation, we have Kolawole Kende, who is a business management consultant of Rose Windows Consulting Limited. It's nice to have you here with us.
Thank you, and glad to be at the studio this morning.
Well, you're here to tell us about MSMEs. What are MSMEs? I know it's something called small, medium, something enterprise, but let's enlighten us on what MSMEs are.
Thank you once again, and I'm glad to be here. When you talk about MSME, they call it the micro, small, medium enterprises. They're a subset of the entire business that have the highest level of employment. They have the highest level of business creation, and you'll be surprised they provide about 78% of the GDP in Nigeria as we speak. We talk from an average person of someone that farms a plot of land to sell our ugu, to somebody that goes to the extent of probably importing some basic things to the country or does a little bit of export. Okay, let me maybe break it down much more easier and all of that. You know, we have micro, then say something is micro. That's the that's the last level of a business creation.
Like a sole proprietor.
And yes, a sole proprietor, even a limited liability company. So if you look at the definition from the CBN angle in terms of access to turnover, access to funding, you talk about people that would actually have access to 20,000 USD dollars for imports or for exports or all of that. And if you talk about taxes, you talk about people that would be doing turnover of probably between a naira to 20 million naira. And that means they
might pay. Will they pay taxes?
No, they would just need to file their returns, but they are not going to pay taxes and all of that. At least the main tax. Then, if you look at the issue of employment, staff strength, you're talking about between 1 and 9. That means not necessarily having that 9 on their payroll, but at least they have
like
touch points
people.
that they're actually doing business with. Like a typical bookers, I'm sure you hit a lot of Amala and Berigiri. You know, there is a small
we that grew up in Lagos, we have so much into all those mama puts.
I can see, you know, the typical mama put is a micro SME. And now you also talk about access to communication. Guess what? The mobile phone has made that possible. So you see the ladies that do TikTok videos, they're also part of the micro SME now, and a lot of that. A lot of them are getting endorsements.
So wait, are you telling me now that there's internet and the social media, they've inducted people on TikTok to SME?
That's exactly what I'm saying. So, you know, every day the definition of micro SME and the definition of business is expanding every day, and you need to catch up with that as we look at what the trends are in the economy. You know, when before the oil came in full force, we had agriculture, but now we are on a knowledge economy. That's the fourth revolution. So most of the things we do now, service-based. You see the tech guys, the tech ladies, and all of that. And once your turnover is below that 20 million, like we can classify you as an SME. But when you talk about the SME too, because I know you want me to speak to that too, and they're about people that are more formal business, have a somewhat management structure. They also have ability to have access to capital and all of that too. And for micro SMEs, the access to capital, they mostly would have to relate with microfinance banks to really get the full benefits of doing business with them and all of that. But you know, in the country right now, people always want to do class. So instead of going to a microfinance to do business, then you want to do business with a commercial bank. And you know, say the government, these banks are not lending me money, they are not doing this, but you are not going to the right space.
So normally microfinance banks are the ones supposed to fund SMEs.
Fantastic.
But a lot of, I noticed a lot of commercial banks are doing a lot of fundings of SMEs, especially if you're a woman. Now, talking about women in SMEs, will we say they're like 65% of women in SMEs, or is that is it a fact?
It is more than a fact. It's the truth, because over out of 90%, out of 100% of business that are created every year, I'm talking about SMEs, about 90% of them are
It's
women
even 90,
business.
not even
Yeah,
65%.
even 90, 90% of them, because women they are very good with trading, and the kind of businesses they do, they have this easy access to those businesses and all of that, and it's so easy for them to do that. You see catering, you see people selling clothing, you see people frying their kara and all of that. This is typically what a young man wouldn't want to be disposed to do. You want to, a man would probably want to do a higher level business, and so the women are actually doing a whole lot in that space, and the federal government had seen that. Even there had been so many intervention funds that CBN, you call it the MSME DF fund, that CBN is giving to microfinance, micro businesses,
Okay.
as well as SME businesses that are women. They have women as head of those businesses. For the microfinance space, you could have access between 500 to 5 million.
Wow.
And you could seek that in your participating banking for the micro business. That's why I said it's always good to know the class of business that you run, so you know where to pitch your business opportunities to. Now for SMEs, interestingly, you could have up to 50 million. Yeah, and CBN and it comes at a single digit.
Wow.
I'm telling you, now if you want to access any loan in the commercial bank, if they're nice to you and they see your beautiful face, they could say, oh, we're going to give you at 28%. But now CBN is giving you a 9%
interest rate.
So it's a question of information. What you don't know eludes you. So that's just one of those issues.
Do you have to know somebody before you access those
Interestingly, like the intervention funds from the Bank of Industry and all of that, in fact, they have consultants that help you develop your plans. So you don't need
to have a business plan.
Yeah, they help from the start to finish and all of that. And they even have project managers that help you all through the way, manage your businesses for you. Of course, one of the issues with SMEs and MSMEs is one, poor educational background of these business owners, poor management skills, and it's not enough for you to have passion to do, to engage in a business. It's important that you know how a business runs and how you know your sector. And I'm sure you will have had all over this that in the first 3 years, most like 80% of SMEs, they collapse. Why? Have you ever thought to answer that question? And the generic question they give is lack of access to capital.
Most of the time, no, but talking about the economy now, the economy seems to have shaken a lot of businesses. So a lot of businesses have been crumbling because of capital, or right now the exchange rate goes so high that a lot of businesses are not coping anymore. Don't you think that also is another problem?
It's actually one of the issues, but it's not the main problem. Issue.
Okay.
When you plant a seed, you need to wait for it to germinate.
Okay.
I tell people, if you are really going to do a business, your first 3 years for you to break even, not to make a profit. So most businesses are so expectant of the first 3 years to make a profit. And once they don't make that profit, they just collapse and all of that. Of course, it's also back to access to or lack of capital, lack of cash flow.
Sustain the business.
And why don't you have a cash flow? Because you might not be in the right business. That means you don't have enough customers to patronize you, and your expenses are higher than your revenue and all of that. I was on Twitter this morning reading some of the tweets, and I was discussing with somebody in the UK, and the man said his mother's shop is about to close because the cost of electricity has shot from £15, from
the
£10
rate is even higher in the UK,
from £10 to £55, and that's one of the problems we also have in Nigeria. Cost of electricity is so huge. Cost of doing business is so huge. If you want to register now, we give credit to the federal government in terms of business registration for small businesses. If you have a business name, I think there was a time that they did free registration for businesses. Now we talk about how often and how quick these processes are. So
Yeah.
they're quite fantastic. But one of the challenges we have with the government also is that government is more concerned about making money than helping businesses to
survive.
grow.
First, they have to first of all survive before they can grow.
Yeah, because we talk about licenses. Like as a management consultant in Nigeria now, you need to get some government certification, and those certifications are killing a lot of businesses and are stopping a lot of people from even being a part of that thing. And government, whenever a government sees opportunity of people making money, they just crumple them. So I think the government needs to look at that area too and weigh their options. Of course, you will have listened to what Serap did this morning. They went to the government on behalf of the 52 radio stations that said they were going to collapse, and because they couldn't pay their money and all of that, and they were saying they're a social service provider, that the cost of running their business is so high, and the expectations that the government have is just too much. They don't want to make money. And I was saying, but you guys collect money for adverts. Well, I hope you're not going to charge me for this.
We're going back to the MSMEs. Do you think they really contribute to the GDP of the economy?
I think I gave you a statistic before we started. I said the MSME combined with SME contribute 48% of the GDP. That's close to half of the GDP. Small businesses. They are the backbone. They are the backbone of the economy, because they are the Olobe that from the akara that she fries, she sends her children to school. From the security guy, it still provides money for the children to feed and all of that. So it's a critical mass of the economy, and that is why the government needs to shed some light to them and support those particular line of businesses.
Okay. So what does your consulting firm, or what do consulting firms do to assist most of this MSME?
Fantastic. Let me start from my consulting firm. We're a business and management consulting firm. We help business in strategy, and we help them in human resource. We also do training and capacity building, and that is really the most important. You recall that when I started, I said most of the people have issues with poor education and poor management.
Poor management
and
skills.
You could find people would open bank accounts and put both their personal funds and business funds to the, and when they say, okay, come and pay tax, you find out that, the tax has killed me because you can't manage. Or when you go to seek for funding, you can't see that. People don't keep proper books and all of that. So that's what we do. And we're doing a community advocacy. We are going to, from the artisans to the small businesses, to teach them how and why they should do all of those things so they can survive. We're also setting up a vocational management training program that is also directed at that. And of course, we're focusing on women business too, because we want to help them. We feel that the women, and because of those statistics, are quite important to the survival of the economy and also the survival of the family.
Is this free?
Yes, we're going to do some for free. We're going to do some for paid. And we're going to let you know when we're starting
because we would like, a lot of people want to key into that. A lot of business will want to key into that, because I notice most people don't know that you shouldn't put your business money and your personal money. Most people don't know anything about bookkeeping. So when they want to go and do their, is it tax clearance?
Apart from tax clearances, even understanding their businesses, and looking at the figures and trying to make decisions, because that's data. You need to use those things to make decisions. For the community, advocacy is going to be free.
Okay.
We're going to go.
Do you have any community in mind?
We're starting with the AMAC. We're going to from Lube to Kuje and all of those, from those farm settlements and all of that, because we're calling it a vocational management. We're going to focus on some agri-based business, help them in processing, value chain addition and all of that, branding, marketing, and a little bit about business management.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time with us. We appreciate it. And before you go, do you have any advice to give to anybody that intends or anybody that is an MSME currently?
Okay, thank you very well. Once again, I would like to appreciate you for bringing me to the studio. And I want the MSMEs, the SMEs, which I happen to be an ambassador for, to hold the faith. I say tough times don't last, but tough people do. Your business might be facing a whole lot of challenges right now, but if you can wait it out, I'm sure there's a light ahead of the tunnel. Thank you.
Thank you so much. We have been discussing with Kolawole Kainde, and I'm sure you've learned something about MSMEs and how to handle your business. We'll be right back after this time out.